a powerful analytical tool for entrepreneurs today on the Daily Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Daily Show, a show not just for rental housing providers, but anybody looking to get a little bit more white space on your calendar. It's good to see you. Yes, here we are about 2 weeks post arrival of Liliana. So thank you for your grace. Yes, I am as exhausted as I look. So that child is very, very active in the middle of the night. What a great baby, though. She's. I'm going to get to that here in just a second because I know you're all more interested in seeing pictures of her. I mean, come on, right? So it's good to see you all. So today, let's get right to it. We are talking about an analytical tool for entrepreneurs, but it's really related to the concept of knowing your numbers. And that's going to be really, really important as we, of course, the big topics out there right now is the inflationary environment and all this other stuff. But before we get into that, come on, look at that face. Right? I know. I'm going to be that guy showing pictures. Okay, I promise. I'm not going to go super crazy, but it is really important. So this is Liliana. She was born on October the 4th. So if I tend to ramble on or not make sense in this video, I apologize in advance. Man, sleep deprivation is a real thing because, whew, man, this child is very, very active. Very happy baby though. She's actually a really good baby. She's just very, very active in the middle of the night and at all other times. All right. So, but it is going to be really important for us to, as you go back and let's think of the danger of not knowing your numbers, right? So it's going to be important, especially as we head deeper into a recession. So, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure where we're at in the recession, but it always seems like it is, by the time it seems really, really bad, we're already pulling out of it. So I don't know. I would like to think that we're already in the late stages of recession. It just seems different this time. I don't know, but that, again, this is just more speculation. I'm a hack, economist at best, but the thing was the CPI data, that is the Consumer Price Index data. It's basically a basket of goods that the government puts together and is tracking in terms of how more what real dollars are being spent in the economy for a basket of goods. And that basket of goods is 8.4% compared to what it was this time last year. So yes, things are more expensive. And the interesting thing is that it doesn't include housing, which the government took that out back when I think I was just getting out of high school, actually back in the 90s. But the reality is that we have been very spoiled with low inflation that has been held low for a really long period of time. I remember back when I was first had a checking or savings account, rather a savings account, and it wasn't uncommon to get 2 to 3% interest on a savings account, and that hasn't been the case for a really long time. Now I've got some savings accounts, and I check and monitor the the interest rates that are being paid, and lo and behold, they're back to 2 to 3%. Like, holy crap! I don't remember that I've ever seen that in my in my adult years where the interest rates were that high. And of course, they're going to continue to go high. But this is more the point that we have been spoiled with low inflation for a generation, and we don't know what that looks like. So, for you small business entrepreneurs out there, even if you're not a small business entrepreneur and you're just watching this show, the reality is you have to know your numbers. I used to remember, and I used to think that I could go to my checking account every day and go, well, I've got more money in my bank account this month than last month. I must be doing all right. Okay. That is that is very, very dangerous thinking, especially when I was in business for myself. I had rental properties. I had a bunch of other side hustles going on. I had money coming in from a W-2 job, and I really wasn't paying attention. I was not tracking my numbers. And when I mean tracking, I mean, let's face it, if I was to ask you what the Dow Jones Industrial Average is today, it's only relevant in terms of what it was yesterday, right? Or what it was this time last year, or what it was 5 years ago, right? So what I mean by tracking your money is, could you tell me on a spreadsheet what it was down to the penny this time last month, or at least by the end of last month, or what it was at the end of January, or what it was at the end of October this time last year. Would you be able to track that and be able to know in very short order without having to go through and peel through a bunch of financial statements? That's what I'm talking about, and when it comes to tracking your numbers. So I'm going to shift this over to a little bit something a little bit more entrepreneurial. I know a lot of small business owners do watch this show, so I want to talk a little bit about as it relates to your income statement. So this is now the income statement. Let's talk about this really fast. The income statement is really it shows where this is where you're showing what money is coming in. I'm going to make this point here is you got to spend the time looking at your income statement. Yes, the balance sheet is also important, but the income statement is going to show you where you're making your money. Now, the income statement is also known as a P&L, and the P&L is also known as a profit and loss. Now, what does that mean? Well, basically, this is what's tracking your revenues and your expenses, and at the bottom is going to be your net profit or net income, depending on how much of a purist you want to be in the accounting world. But at the end of the day, it's also going to show you whether you have a profit or whether you have a loss. So this income statement or P&L or profit and loss, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing. It all measures the exact same thing. It just depends on what you want to call it. It's going to be important for you to have one generated each and every month, which means that you've got to be reconciling your bank accounts. You've got to know where your numbers are. If you're not, if that just isn't in your skill set, and honestly, I have an accounting degree and it's still not in my skill set. You know why? Yeah, I have a degree in accounting. It is not the best use of my time. I much rather employ people who can do this job way better. They much more prefer to kind of just sit in front of a computer and crunch numbers. That is them all day long. Me, I can do it for a little bit of time, but to do that day in and day out, it's not my area of gifting, right? So be honest with yourself. If it means you get a virtual assistant, and I can happily connect you with some folks who love to do this stuff, and they're trustworthy. They will balance your checkbook. They will reconcile your accounts, so you will know where you're at from any given period of time. So if you need help with that, reach out. I'll be happy to help you any way that I can. But I'm going to show you a technique which is really, really powerful. And a lot of CFOs use this technique. And I used this actually when I was in as an underwriter for commercial lending. Okay. So I used to be in the commercial lending department of a local bank, actually a regional bank. And this is a technique we used all the time to track and see how expenses were moving in relation to sales. So what you're going to do is you're going to measure a line item expense as a percentage of sales. So let me show you what I'm talking about here, just with a quick example. So let's say, for example, that you've got an income statement, and we'll just say that this is an annualized income statement. All right. So you've got $400,000 in sales, and that sales can come from whatever your revenues are. It could be rents, it could be selling widgets, it could be selling ice cream cones, whatever it is, selling coffee, whatever it is. But you've got $400,000 in sales. That's money coming in. Then, of course, the as a true income statement, you would have your expenses, right? So you might have an office expense of $20,000. That might be rent, for example. Of course, you're going to have wages. Wages are always one of the bigger the bigger line item expenses when it comes to any business. So you're going to have wages of 145,000. You're going to have a utility expense of 5,000, and then when you take those sales minus those expenses, you're going to come up with a net income of $230,000. All right, so this is just an example of an income statement. So a really, really powerful tool is when you start tracking the expenses as a percentage of sales. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So of course, if sales as a percentage of sales is 100%, right? You would take your office expense and divide that by your sales, right? So your office expense is 5% of sales, all right? Then you look at your wage expense, which is 36.25% of sales. And then you do the same with your utilities expense, and then you come up with what is known as your profit margin, which is 57.5%. So that would be your net income divided by your sales. Okay, so this is a really, really valuable tool, because now you can start to say, okay, well, if the numbers start moving around, it's really hard to say, well, am I going the right direction? Am I getting more sales? Am I operating more efficiently? Like it's really, really tough. So this is a measure. It helps you measure efficiency. All right. So let's look at let's say it's the following year and your sales have increased. Your sales have actually gone up by 25%. Okay. So you have now increased your sales. Is it 20%? Whatever. Follow along. All right. So now your sales have gone from 400,000 to 500,000, whatever that increase that is. Again, lack of sleep here. So your sales have gone from 400,000 to 500,000. Again, your sales as a percentage of sales is 100%, right? So it's always going to be 100%. Now your office expense, right, is now at 4%. Your wages is at 49%. Your utilities is now at 1%, and your net income is 46%. Now, let's think about this for just a second. When you're comparing these two, all right, even though your sales went up, you're working harder, but you're actually making the same amount of money. Okay, let's look at that. Let me go back to these slides here real fast. Okay, so you've got in the first example, you're making $230,000. All right. In this case, your sales went up, but guess what also went up? Your wages went up. Okay, but you're making the same amount of money. So again, even though sales went up, you're working harder, but you're making the same amount. So notice this when you're tracking this, your profit margin went to 46% based compared to 57.5% when it was the year previous. Okay, so I know I'm flipping between screens here a little bit, but I just wanted to make this point is that this this tool in your toolbox when you're measuring your expenses as a percentage of sales is a very, very powerful technique. So you can make sure that you're actually operating more efficiently as time goes on in your business. Okay. Now, this is something a CFO or obviously, a financially savvy coach could help you with. But this is something that fractional CFOs are doing. In fact, I coach a fractional CFO and he's doing a fantastic job doing some really, really cool stuff for some contracting type businesses. And these are the sorts of tools in your toolbox that a CFO will bring to you. So this is why it's really, really important to have these professionals in your corner when you're looking at stuff like this. So you can say, hey, great, my sales went up, but why do I feel like I'm actually not making more money? Well, it could be because you are growing broke. And that's what a good CFO could help you do. And that's what a good financially savvy coach could help you do as well. All right. Well, that is all I have for today, folks. If you'd ever like to reach out, you can reach out at landlordcoach.com. Drop a hello in the comments. Let me know what kind of operation that it is that you have. Even if it's not a buy and hold operation, I'd be happy to help you out any way that I can. So that is all I have for today, folks. Please be sure to place value on your free time because if you don't, someone else will. And remember, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have an awesome day, and I will see you guys next time.